David is every time David hosts, he forgets that when we come on, he has to like say hello to people.
Get it started. All right.
What up?
I got it. I got it, man. I got it.
Do you? I mean, I'm just.
We're here. Good
Go ahead, David.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our weekly South Star Classroom podcast, coming to you every week, every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. East Coast time. And I got a little bit of echo there. I'm not sure where that's coming from. And we're glad to have the whole crew back together today. We've had some travel and other personal things happening, and the three of us are here. My name is David Castillo, one of your co-hosts. We've got Omar Yanar hailing from the beautiful state of Texas, and we've got Dr. Charles Cole hailing from wherever he happens to be at any given point in time. The man moves around. Excited to bring today's show to you. Some of our shows require, that we do a little bit of research. Today's show is going to be a little more free flow. I've got my pink golfing shirt on, so it's summertime. Most students are out for the summer already. Some are still in, but we're in that transition period from the school year to summertime, and so today we're going to take advantage of this moment to talk about, best practices around summer learning activities. We're going to talk directly from our own experiences working in schools, and hopefully we'll hear from our audience, around what your ideas are for effective summer learning. So make sure if you're listening to us, give us a like, share the podcast, and make sure to chime in when the time comes. So given that, I don't think I left anything out. Let's do a quick check-in. We will go to the Lone Star State. Omar, we haven't seen you in a while. It feels like we've been gone for a couple of weeks. Good to see you. What's going on?
It's good to see you all, man. I was out at Harvard's graduation last week to see the co-founder of the El Paso Leadership Academy, Mr. Andrew Benitez, turn from Mr. Andrew Benitez into Dr. Andrew Benitez. The man is now, like Dr. Charles Cole, a real doctor, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't no fake ass doctor stuff. The man's a real doctor. 12 years ago, we were subsequently, Mr. Benitez and I were graduating from Harvard, from the undergrad, me from the Kennedy School of Government, HKS, and we designed the El Paso Leadership Academy. And now 12 years later, he is graduating Dr. Andrew Benitez, and we are growing the El Paso Leadership Academy from an organization that started from $8,000 of savings and tying together money from family to what is predicted to be an $8 million budget next year. So it's changed. Yeah, it's crazy. But things are good, man. Harvard was slammed because they were doing the class of 2020, 2021, and 2022. Jesus. So you walked into any Harvard shop and it was just empty. Everyone looks like they went to Harvard. The dads, the kids, the uncles, the dude that sold hot dogs. Everyone was very Harvarded up. And it was a lot of fun, man. So, but glad to be back home and back with.
Excellent, man. Latinos with doctorates, man. That's there's some power right there, right?
Incredible. Very small fraction of Latinos have that educational level. Very impressive. So congrats to him, and congrats to folks like Dr. Charles Cole, who helped us believe that.
All right, awesome, Dr. Cole.
Congrats.
How we doing?
Hey,
brother?
man. Well, I'm good. I got the glasses on. Well, I wear glasses all the time, but I'm wearing them. I'm gonna finally I'm doing a LASIK consultation tomorrow, so I have to take the contacts out. Hopefully I can get the LASIK, man. I'm so sick of glasses and contacts. I'm so sick of glasses and contacts. Like, it's so, you just have no idea. I'm a little tired, fellas, but things are happening. I'm working, and I just want to say, like, I love my South Star Classroom guys, because there's a lot of things I want to do. There's a lot of things we want to do with this joint, this whole work that we do, and I just been busy and slammed, but we're working, things are moving forward. I'm behind on a lot of stuff, so this is going to be a very, very busy weekend. And the guys were trying to figure out who the folks were. I have a very nice bokeh effect back there, but even under the blur, I would expect Omar, the suave black-haired Don, and David DJ Castillo to still know, especially those top two left on the just who those people are. All you need is a blurry silhouette. Those people are the legends. That is hip hop up there. Come on, man. Who else gonna have a bandana? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, it's Biggie and Tupac and Nipsey Hussle up top, man. Y'all are hurting my feelings, but I'm excited for this.
A, man, it's blurry. B, you can't even see the bandana on Tupac, man. It's
you don't see that blue thing? What you thought it was a sweatband?
No, man, it's blurry back there. It's because you see an image that it's embedded in your mind. But for those of us who are barely seeing this, man, it's blurry. Can the audience chime in? That is blurry. And look, man, I thought I could tell Biggie out because it looks like he's wearing, like, you know, what was that stuff? The crisscross.
The Coogee is Coogee, like, bro. Don't ever Coogee. It's the Coogee sweater.
And you know
there it is, man.
Who's the one in the middle, the lower row in the middle? Who is that?
Come on, man, that's easy. Who got the heart? That's Kanye, bro.
Okay, well, Kanye, to my old eyes that need LASIK surgery, looks like an old photo of Emiliano Zapata. Right? Omar knows what I'm talking about.
Hey, man, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees over a Kanye beat. Oh my goodness. Monumental, baby.
Excellent.
Monumental.
Nice. All right.
And let me know if you hear that echo again. I don't know where it came from, but I don't hear it. I don't think Omar hears it. But David, if you hear it again, let us know.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right.
Hard-hitting information you get on the South Star Classroom, ladies and gentlemen. Chime in with your top 5 in the comments.
There you go.
There you go.
Good luck.
This is not my top 5, but yes, chime in with your top 5. I'm with that.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next
how are you doing, brother? Did you say how you were?
No, I haven't. So yeah, I'm doing good. Let's see what's happening. Again, you know, we're still in school session down here, so we got another 2 weeks. But you know, things have been good. Working, work is kind of tapering off, which is fine. The schools are, the school year is coming to an end. You know, looking for, you know, partnering with new organizations for the upcoming year. You know, really looking forward to meeting new teams. I'm really enjoying doing the work of coaching. You know, I do a lot of coaching for school leaders, systems leaders, and board leaders, mainly in the charter school space. And it's work that I really love. It's flexible. I have impact. I'm working directly with people that are working directly with children. And so, yeah, that's kind of the mode that we're in. We're getting ready for summer. We've got some family in town this weekend. And so looking forward to that. And, you know, glad to be here today to talk about summer learning with my new pink summer golf polo. This is all by design.
Well, man. Well, you know, I love that you picked the topic of summer learning, man. And you know, so why did you pick that topic? Like, why is this important for our community to understand? Not for the education wonks or the people that know policy and all that stuff, but the people that watch, the moms and pops and grandmamas and aunties and community advocates that watch this show. Why should they be knowing about that and talking about it?
Yeah. So, so just backing up from that, and we'll get there, Dr. Cole. You know, I wanted to also just mention, you know, since it sounds like most young people are out for the summer's still in, you know, you've got these graduations happening. And so first and foremost, congratulations to, you know, every single student that's finished the school year off. If you're graduating, going from elementary to middle school to high school, and you're graduating from high school to go on to work and college and life, I just wanted to make sure that we take time to congratulate everybody for putting in the work, especially over the course of a very difficult past 2 years that we've all had. So I wanted to say that first. I also wanted to say, you know, I've attended as a school leader and a education advocate. I've attended many graduations in my time. You know, sometimes I was sitting on the stage, sometimes I was facilitating, sometimes I was a guest speaker, sometimes I was just an invited guest. Some of them have been quite big, you know, 200 students graduating, 300, some smaller, 30, 40 for some of the smaller charter schools. However, the most impactful graduations that I've ever attended occurred, in say like July, right? You had your regular end of the year graduation. You've got a graduating class of say like 100 students, and 94 of them graduate and they're able to walk the stage. You've got 6 that have not yet met a graduation requirement. And, in many of the schools that I've worked in, all the schools that I've worked in, we hold a very, when we talk about accountability, like we mean it, like you got really close, but you didn't quite make it, and you know why you didn't make it. And so we open the doors for an extended learning opportunity for young people to make up credits, and they do it. And then in the middle of July, once that summer session's over, we do a second graduation for 5 students, for 6 students and their families to come in to walk the stage, to break bread, to make speeches, to give acknowledgments, and to share in the pride of graduation after, maybe 12, maybe 13 years for some young people. Those graduations that, aren't held in fancy theaters, they might be held in a cafeteria, maybe in a classroom. They're intimate and they are incredibly powerful. And they only happen because many of the schools that I've worked in, we've always facilitated that for young people. So you do a graduation in the middle of summer for seniors that weren't quite, there when the June graduation ceremony happened. And so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about opportunity for older students that need a little bit more time, maybe a few more weeks to finish that graduation. And then as a school, you have a responsibility and an ethical responsibility to hold that space, hold that ceremony, ensure that rite of passage happens for those young people. And those have always been the most powerful for me. And so today we're going to talk about like summer learning, what we've done, what we know is important, why it's important. And that's everything from, summer learning programs for younger children to credit recovery for older children. And again, focusing on, there it is. Sorry about that. Focusing on Black and brown children that we know historically have been furthest from opportunity. So I'm gonna set the stage there just to talk about the potential of power that summer learning holds. And I'd like to hear from both of you about, what your general thinking around summer learning has been in your experience.
I'll let that handsome devil to my right go first, man. Go ahead, brother. Take the love, brother, and you muted. There you go. Look, he took himself off screen. He was like, "Yo, I'm annoyed." That's what you're doing. He's like, "I gotta go."
No, man, I don't know what happened. Everything shorted out. It was like the spirit of Kanye West behind you decided to clear out my audio. Oh man. So look, we're in this very interesting predicament right now where we're ludicrously behind because COVID has created like monumental learning loss, right? So like, what does this mean for our audience? It means like, look, EPLA as an example is a 6th grade through we're eventually 12th grade, but we start with kids in the 6th grade. And we typically get students that are several grade levels behind, 3rd grade, 4th grade. We're seeing kids coming in this year that are regressed all the way back to 1st grade kindergarten reading skills, math skills. Something happened. It wasn't just a learning loss. It was like what is essentially like regression, man. They went backwards. So summer camps oftentimes, or summer school is often like, all right, I got to go to summer school, and we've seen the movies, and it's like Paul Rudd putting on a bunch of movies like in Ghostbusters or like summer school where they put on like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's like kids coming in because they failed the course. The problem with that is that it's just so unmotivating and it's not fun and it's not getting kids excited. So I'm going to give you guys like a quick example. For we have next week off, and then we have 2 weeks of like a summer learning intensive. And when we told the kids, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing intense reading and math support in the morning, but the afternoon is going to be all fun and games, cross-curricular activities, hands-on projects. You're going to engage in things like music and engineering by like literally designing things, and architecture by designing things, and like biology by like working with plants and designing things. And the kids, we went from like parents and kids being like, summer, we don't want anything to do with this, to designing such a fun, incredibly engaging curriculum that now we're getting interest from people outside of our school that aren't even enrolled. So our kids are all like, we're all in. And we're saying, who are you? Like, who are these other people that, yeah, we heard about these summer things going on. Could we participate? And I'm like, do you go here? They're like, no, we don't, but it sounds awesome. What we're trying to get at is that summer learning, ladies and gentlemen, much like, in my opinion, year-long learning, should actually be incredibly fun and engaging. You're doing something to penalize kids with summer school, and I say flip that. Reward kids, get kids interested, bring kids into something that is fascinating and cross-curricular. Because what we found is, even with this simple work that we've been doing this year, we have grown kids 3 to 4 grade levels this year alone. So I'm looking at the data right now, and I'm looking at this and saying, we grew a kid from the 1st grade to the 5th grade. We grew a kid from the 2nd grade to the 7th grade. That is really what the heart of summer work should be doing, is not penalizing children with boring ass summer classes, or like, hey man, like, let's watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It should be very data analytic and say, how are we catching kids up so that they find fun, success, and love in learning, because we are identifying those gaps. But then what are we doing to incentivize them to come in the summer with these exceptionally fun programs where they're manipulating things in real life and having fun and reinforcing the learning from a hands-on experience. But this is also where we get to like coach and work with kids on like all the soft skills, like leadership training. So things like listening, empathy, creative problem solving, critical thinking, these things should be going on all year long. And like, listen, like, I don't want to get off on a huge rant here, but if I could wave a magic wand, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I would do with middle school all year long. I do hardcore academics in the morning, focused on literacy and math, and then switch around science and social studies. And then the afternoon would be all like cross-curricular, hands-on, elective, fun, team building activities to build the strength and soft skills, and then incentivize kids to come. You do that, they work much harder, and it's way more fun. Plus, for our parents, it gives them that time to say, oh my goodness, like, either A, great, we're at work, we can send our kids to school, or B, we need a little bit of time off, so cool, we're gonna send them to school and they're gonna do some incredible work. To answer the question very succinctly, summer learning is ludicrously important because, guys, we're not working on the agrarian calendar anymore. This ain't 1775. Like, what was the last time someone read, you know, what was it, like Ben Franklin's Old Farmer's Almanac? Like, the almanac's amazing, by the way. It still exists. It's still in publication. It is still being used, but it's like, we ain't on the agrarian calendar anymore. So why should school be on the agrarian calendar? We need to make up for the fact that, as Dr. Cole will tell you, with all the hard work we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, kids still can't read. We got to get them caught up. Ain't that right, Dr. Cole?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly the point that I was going to make. I was going to, like, I don't know if you was tagging me in right there, but I'm ready with the leg drop if you were.
That's right, man. That's right.
You're tagging.
We had a good handoff that I had to telegraph and mess up, but no, I agree. I think that's a time to actually catch up, right? I think that it depends. Like, so this goes into when we've talked to you all about knowing your kids' reading level, knowing where they are in numeracy. Like, now, if your kids are just at grade level or they just killing it, hey, it's the time to get ahead, or, you know, maybe it is just enjoy the summer. But, you know, a lot of the people that we know that watch this video or that go to the schools that we tend to talk about, many of them may be behind. So if you know where your kid is, it's a good opportunity to catch up there. And then I'm going to also add in another perspective on this, right? Like, so, you know, I think there's an assumption that we're only talking about K-12. I went to a quarter system school when I went to Cal State Hayward, now East Bay. I had to do remedial everything. So I went to summer school every single year. I went, and that's how I kind of caught up. So, you know, when you have remedial classes in the university system, you have to pay for those classes. You have to take them. You have to pass them, and they also do not count towards graduation. So instead of being able to take the 12 units that everybody else was taking, I was taking 16 or 20. And so in order to catch up so I could graduate in my 4 years, especially because I was on the hook of paying for college on my own and using grants and loans, I didn't get any money from my parents. I used the summers because summers meant that I could actually get back up to speed and up to par. So it's a little hard when I be seeing, sometimes I'll see folks that's taking 5 or 6 years to finish, and that's completely fine. I just was like, yo, I can't do that. Like if I have to be here past the 4, I don't know if I'll finish. So summer learning is a time, again, for you to kind of get up to speed, get up to snuff. It's a time for you to try new things, try to have different type of learning experiences. If I could do it all over again, I had a magic wand and I wasn't in remedial classes, I probably would have taken advantage of summer abroad or some really cool internships or exposed myself to things. So for you parents out there, whether it's K-12, whether it's college, and you're thinking about it, well, even if it's not summer school, even if it's not dual enrollment at the local college for K-12, maybe there's some enriching things that you can do with your child where they can learn some new stuff. Maybe it's going to the museum, but we have to get into the habit of continuing learning with intentionality. And I think that's what summer learning kind of is to me. You should be strategic in how it works out for you and your family.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, summer learning can look a number of different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to happen within the confines of a public or a private school building. I mean, it can happen at home. It can happen out in the real world. It can happen in nature. There's a number of different ways. One perspective, the way I got into, I'll share a quick story. The way I initially got into summer school as an employee of a school organization was, during my first, time being a teacher, and then my early years as being a leader in a high school, in a charter high school in East Oakland, California. And we realized, every year when our 9th grade class would come in, our academic assessment data showed that, year over year, the students were drastically behind, and it just wasn't changing, right? And so we decided that, especially for our new incoming 9th graders, if we could have 4 weeks to spend with them, number one, to better diagnose their individual needs. Number two, to provide some level of remedial education, mainly around math and language. And then 3, assist them. These are children that are coming from all different types of middle school environments. Some quality environments, most of them were not. And so our goal is to spend 4 weeks with them so that when they come to the first day of school, they have a general sense of what the expectations are. They've been able to put one of their their feet in the bowl of our school culture, so they start to understand what school culture means, and we can start some of that before day 1 of actual learning. And for most children, it was incredibly beneficial. You imagine showing up to a new school on day 1 and how overwhelming it can be. You lose a lot of kids in those first couple of weeks, but if you can spend time with them, and granted, the earlier summer programs that we launched, we required that if you accepted a spot at our school for the 9th grade, you had to come to do summer programs, and that included attendance requirements, tardies, getting the kids used to everything, the dress code, getting a head start on all of that, so it wasn't so overwhelming for them and their families when the actual school year started. And then ever since then, we used to call it boot camp. It's probably not the correct terminology in the year 2022. Sometimes it felt like a boot camp, but that's kind of that was the work that we were doing in the no excuses era. But did children benefit from it? Absolutely. And so that's been my initial experience. from there, it's expanded to, offering, more extracurricular type programs. The flip side of this is, and I want to throw it to both of you, is we talk about, there are certain kids that, have their summers like mapped out for them. You're going to, where are you going? You're going to go to Walden Pond for the summer. That's fine. Johnny is going to Walden Pond for the summer.
So
You should say what Walden
their
Pond is.
laundry,
What's Walden Pond? I don't know what that is.
Well, Walden Pond is a pond in the Northeast where you go to like contemplate life and like you transcend.
Hey,
Right?
that's pretty cool.
This
Yeah,
dude.
it's nothing against
Walden
that. However,
Pond, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
is where Henry David Thoreau wrote one of the
Yes, that's where he wrote Walden. Yes.
yeah,
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Followed up by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I've been to Walden Pond. I've seen it before. What most people don't know is while this man was contemplating transcendentalism, his mom was doing his laundry for him at Walden Pond.
I was gonna say, did you see all the new? There's been all this stuff at the last few years where people are just completely discrediting his entire journey, like because he was supposed to take these big long walks and stuff, and they were like, oh, he was going into town and he was getting food and he was not
Okay.
So people have started to.
The proverbial Walden Pond, right?
Listen, I mean, Walden is Walden, man. I don't know if you can go back and disgrace the classic that Walden is, but
I do want to get back to this thing that David
I know we had a nerd moment. Sorry,
I love that nerd moment, but what I do want to reinforce, David, is you were going in this direction of like if you're upper middle class,
Right.
this is what you're doing with your summers. So please continue.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So the flip side of that is, and I'll be much more careful in terms of my terminology and examples going forward.
No, man, it's summer.
Is like
we're just very well-read, learned people of color on this thing, man. That's all.
Yeah, for many children, the children that the kinds of schools that we've attended and that we work in is summer at home when parents are working can look very, very different. It doesn't, especially for younger kids, it means like you're stuck at home, you're not getting out, you're not getting exercise, your nutrition might be an issue. And you actually, this is where students can, academically, they start to regress. But worst case scenario, and we know this, is that, in certain cities, urban areas, when summer comes and that temperature hits 80 degrees, things start to pop off and the streets can be very unsafe for young people. And so, what's a better place for them? You open up the school and you allow a continuum of sanctuary and an offering of education to young people and their families, because, at the end of the day, like, for many kids, being on the streets can be unsafe, especially unsupervised. And during these summer months in some of our big cities, Oakland included, many of the other ones that we talk about. So, I mean, that's like a basic core function of what summer learning can look like for many kids. Mm-hmm. Like, you can come here, you can get your nutrition, you can be safe, we can add everything else onto that. So, yeah, that's where I was going.
Oh, and listen, I think as you're talking, I think a lot of people are like, yo, I don't have money for this, I don't have money for that. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are some things that you can use money for, like if you have it, definitely use it, right? There's a lot of stuff, but there's things like Khan Academy. I'll put it in the chat. Khan Academy is a place that you can go, and they have things that you can utilize for free. If you want something with a little bit of flavor, reconstruction.us is also an option started by Kaya Henderson. I'll put that up in there as well. Like there are places where you can go that are either free or they offer. Khan Academy is free. Reconstruction, I know, offers grants and scholarships. And YouTube University is still a huge thing. Like, I think that there's a lot to be learned. I think if your kids are going to spend 10, 11 hours on YouTube, I've actually put together playlists. I'll find one. I'll put together playlists of like learning that could happen. I'll find it while we're on here, and I'll attach it. And I think, I think it's giving people resources. I think the more that we can take excuses away, I think that will help people. But here's the thing, people that's listening to us, at the end of the day, ultimately, you have to do it. Like, you got to make your kid do it, or if you're the young person that's watching this, you got to take responsibility for growing your education. And I think that part of the issue is that a lot of our people do not know where they stand in this stuff. And I'm not talking about like, you know, everybody's going to talk about, oh, neoliberal this or testing that, or there's a whole bunch of nice little buzzwords that go in there. But let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get down to like the bottom level of it. What do you want for you? What do you want to be able to quote at the end of the year? What do you want to be enriched by? I don't care if you read books on Emiliano Zapata or if you read Walden. It doesn't matter to like, as long as you're reading and as long as you're actually giving your brain the work that it needs. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be interesting. I don't know if we're going to have time to go through this. I have a lot of thoughts on this whole Parker Elementary piece. But you know, I think that parents, community leaders, like, there's always going to be something in the system that's wrong. There's always going to be something in the ether that's wrong. And we can't keep letting that be the excuse year after year on why our kids are not getting what they need, especially in summer months.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, I don't know if I cut you off or not. Oh, but this thing about Parker kind of sparked something for me. One, well, I'll go off on a tangent. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, look, I'm going to take this in a bit of a different direction, and then I want to come back to this Parker thing because I think it's really really interesting and really fruitful. The difference that I see is that, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you are middle and upper middle class, kind of like David was saying, these kids are getting enriched in all sorts of very fascinating ways, and it goes two different directions. And this is a conversation we're going to have with our parents as we start the next school year, is that one, they're like doing things like going off to Europe, like you said, Walden Pond, or museums, and going into internships and boardrooms, and they're getting this kind of ludicrous experience in social capital and be like, I know how to handle myself in a room full of board of directors because dad took me to this. I know how to handle myself with other CEOs because my mom's a CEO. I know how to handle myself in the hospital because mom's a doctor. I know how to handle myself in the courtroom because dad's a lawyer. And they're garnering these pretty incredible experiences that is preparing them for life. Now, on the other end, and I want to make folks aware of this, summer is this very fascinating time, especially for middle income kids, where when they are cognizant of the difficulty in high school of the college going process, that is where they are gunning it and doing an inordinate amount of community service and volunteer work, because they understand that this is a quintessential component for college entry. They're taking, like Dr. Cole said, they're doing tons of reading. They're getting themselves up remedially. They're doing a ton of volunteer work. And I'll give you a few fun examples of what some kids are doing, but really, like, from a lower middle income, low income, working class background, that, I came from this background. What did I do in the summers? What are low income kids doing in the summers that can have monumental gains? So my mom, Tita Yanado, is the director of the Upward Bound program. For those of you that are not familiar with the Upward Bound program is a high school program. It is designed to be linked to a college. And what these kids who are accepted into the Upward Bound program do from freshman year of high school is that every Saturday they're going to school. Yep. So already they're doing Saturday workshops every Saturday during the school year. And then they do, I think it's like a 4 to 6 week intensive. I think 4 weeks, because I taught at Upward Bound several years when my mom was running the program. And it's a 4-week intensive in the summer, all summer long. These are kids that are low income, first generation college. Now they have to be at risk. So these kids are getting like C's, D's, failing, like no chance whatsoever that these kids would ever get into college. And the idea of the program is that you're catching kids up so quickly and providing all of this supplemental support that when LBJ created this, you're getting these kids into college and so forth. My mom's success rate was so ludicrous that not only did she get 100% of her kids into something post-secondary, either four-year university or community college, over 85% of those kids graduated from a four-year university. And these were kids getting Fs. These were kids failing out of school. These are low income kids.
Yep.
This is the power and impact of an exceptional summer program if directed correctly. And look, the formula that she did is the formula that I'm trying to emulate for middle school, and the formula I'm trying to emulate for my summer program. Hardcore academics in the morning, and then exceptionally fun, rigorous, cool, hands-on activities and, you know, kind of like leadership and team building activities in the afternoon. But for some of us, like what I did in my summers is I was participating in an organization called the National Hispanic Institute, which were these amazing leadership programs that were all games and highly competitive. I did a debate program the summer of my freshman year. So I trained from October until June, and then we went off to this crazy competition called the Great Debate. So the El Paso team had a team, Houston had a team, the Rio Grande Valley had a team, Lubbock had a team, Dallas had a team, and like we literally went head to head against these teams in things like cross-examination, mock trial, oratory. I was a mock trial kid, and it was nuts. I was competing against some of the smartest Latinos in the state. It was this intense 4-day competition. I was on a college campus. It was mind-bogglingly difficult. It was insanely cool. And what happened, ladies and gentlemen, as a result of participating in a program like this, not only did I get to spend time in college, at a college campus freshman year. So when I went to college, I was like, oh, this feels like an NHI trip. I was already very well accustomed with what a college campus looks like, feels like, going to the dorm, staying in a dorm. Think about that experience, going to the food hall, you demystifying the whole college process, but then you're doing high level debate. And then what I did is that I was so enthusiastic about the leadership development of young Latinos. Every single summer thereafter, I was doing staff and volunteering for all the NHI events. So when people are like, oh, Omar, like you got into Stanford, it must be because you're Mexican, which happened to me, which is, you know, good times. It was like, well, you know, it could be that, or it could be the fact that I was doing over 1,000 hours of community service supporting the Latino community over the summer. And that was not only exceptionally good for me and what has led to EPLA and its success, but like, yo, dude, you want the secret to get into an amazing college? Volunteer 1,000 hours over the summer. But that's what Dr. Cole was getting at. It's the summer has now become this like amorphous time. And look, for those kids that are like, well, I'm going to go lifeguard, or I'm just going to play on my phone, or I'm going to watch YouTube. I'm like literally racking my brain and being like, there are 1,000 things that you could be doing to build yourself up, to become an exceptional student, an exceptional person, to give back to your community, to learn skills. And like that, yeah, I'm all for vacation and stuff, but really that should be what we're thinking about when we're doing summer work. So it's something that you've got to be proactive about, because no one's going to just hand you these programs. You got to go out there and find out what your community has, what's available. I highly recommend the Upward Bound program for high school kids. And if you happen to be in California, New Mexico, Texas, the East Coast, yo, NHI, the National Hispanic Institute, look into it. It's an exceptional program. So, but I know we want to get into Parker, because I'm seeing it in the comments section. So I kind of want to hand this.
Let's
back
do
off
that,
to David and Doc. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, go, David, close us out. Yeah, go ahead, David. You got it.
Yeah, we'll talk about Parker in a second here. But I want to shout out Upward Bound for sure, Omar.
Shout out Mama Yanar. Like Mama Yanar.
Yeah, what's
like
up with that? Yeah.
We've gotten like the things that his mother has done, like sprinkled in the last few episodes, and it's like, yo, your mom was a beast, yo. Like she kind of, you're very, very fortunate to have had the mother that you had, with the type of knowledge and access that she had. I think that's a beautiful thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And the only comment I have to say about that, and this is, I was just talking to my mom the other day, and I was like, listen, like, you worked your ass off and you did these incredible things at Upward Bound. But the thing is, the minute you get another director, all those things go poof, they're gone. So I'm working with my mom to ensure that all the systems that she created in Upward Bound now are made permanent in EPLA high schools to continue the incredible work and the legacy, because the woman cracked the code a long time ago for low-income students that are Black and brown, and it's time to institutionalize that into a school system so that what we can do, and ladies and gentlemen, just another plug for the South Star Classroom, we're in this work, we're doing this work. And I gotta say, like, when we say that we're out there and we can do consulting work, we can consult at the very highest levels, creating solutions for complicated issues that people have not figured out. And hats off to my mom, because I gotta tell you, Doc, the ongoing thought in my head is, what happens when Tita Yanad isn't your mom? You call the South Star Classroom. And we can help get those programs institutionalized in your schools, in your districts, so that you got the next best thing.
Yep.
That's
it, man. That's it, man. Yeah. So Omar is clearly over-prepared for today's show. Thank you very much. Dropped some fire there for all of us.
This is
thank
true,
you, Omar. Yeah, man. And a quick tip, I mean, summer is here. In many areas and regions, like, it can be hard to find resources. Really, ideally, families are looking, and I know the last couple of years have been difficult, but the early bird gets the worm. It's still true today. So I mean, we got to start looking for like summer programs as early as like February, March, April. Some of them fill up, especially the ones that are free, low cost, popular, effective. But check with your school district, check with your city, check with your governmental agencies. Sometimes people do pool resources together. They might have a summer learning guide. I know in Oakland they have one, in San Diego they have one, LA has one. So there are resources out there to, for families and young people to kind of understand the menu of opportunities that exist. A couple of things before we transition. From the perspective of a leader, and this is also kind of with the lens of the work that we do as the South Star Classroom. Summer school, I always love summer school. I love the vibe of it. It was always calmer. And as a former school leader, you get to do a couple of different things, right? I'm hiring teachers to come in and work at my school in the fall. And I'm not going to require them to, but many of them will take up an offer to come in and teach summer school before they start in the fall. So you get a chance to like bring new talent in and observe them and coach them. And just like those incoming freshmen or, ninth graders, you can do the same with teachers that come in. So that's one thing. There's like a talent aspect to this with summer school, because let's face it, especially after the last couple of years, it's probably going to be difficult to get, returning teachers to come back and teach over the summer. People are tired. So, you can find new talent, your new hires. That's one thing. Summer school can also be a good opportunity for you to cultivate and provide leadership opportunities for your support staff. You might have teacher aides, other support staff positions, people that want to step up and maybe, teach a course in summer school with support. It's a good opportunity to provide, a ladder for people to show their skills and to learn new skills with support. Number three, again, I would always start asking my teachers in like February, March. I'm like, summer school, and a lot of them say no, some of them say yes. But it's, at the end of the day, it's a really good way to identify like your teacher leaders, teachers that really truly have their heart and skin in the game, that are going to work a full year and that are going to have no intention of leaving their classroom until middle of July when summer school ends, right? It's like, by default, these people are in it to win it. And so it's a good way for leaders to really kind of identify on your own staff, like, potential leaders. The other thing is, and this probably relates more towards, schools that have a more mixed demographic. When I was the head of school at Urban Montessori in Oakland, California, we were a school by design that was diverse. We had white families, we had Asian families, we had Black families, we had brown families, families from the Middle East, pretty much the whole demographic of the city. But when it came down to summer school, and identifying the students that we know needed extra learning, it looked way more Black, way more brown, and way more low income. So as a school that was, working with a very diverse demographic of the community, summer school provided us a time to work with, our highest needs families and our highest needs students. And we shifted gears. We would allow parents, we had parents stay on campus for cafecitos, like, you've talked about, Omar. We did literacy workshops with families, making sure that we took advantage of the opportunity, not just to teach children, but to deeply engage with their families in a way that just really wasn't sustainable during the rest of the school year. So just a couple of other pieces around, some of the things that people should be thinking about in terms of summer learning.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, I think we did a good job around just talking about summer learning and what that is. I think the takeaways are: be strategic, whether it's getting staff up to speed or helping students get up to snuff, like use it. It does not always have to be in a classroom. It could be in enriching experiences. It could be an organization such as Upward Bound, the Boys Club, or it could be on that family trip. Be intentional, and don't just only think about it in terms of K-12. Think about it also in college. And I think the piece for me was also in parents, students, regardless of what the system does, you got to be the driver of that stuff. You got to make sure your kid is getting that learning. So there's a lot of lessons to take there if you all take them. You know what I mean? They're there. We put them out there, but you got to grab them. You know what I'm saying? And I think so. Just to David, let's just introduce this piece real quick and build up some context for Omar and just for the group. So Parker came up. Park Elementary School. Well, it became Park Elementary, then middle. It became a dual. Those two combined, but basically it's a school in Oakland. It had a very high performing principal for a long time. Then it kind of grew or whatnot, but it wasn't one of the best performing schools. It's in a rougher part of the city. It's like it's not in the flats, but it's like in the East Oakland, like it's off the Sev. It's off of 73rd, up the hill a little bit. And it ended up closing this year. And when it closed, parents, community members kind of took it over and are doing some programming out of it. There's a lot of activism around it. And the reason why I had that reaction when I saw it was, one, I think it's really dope what those folks are doing and kind of building that out and kind of making it homegrown. I actually think that's pretty cool. Two, my reaction is I worked in the district and I remember begging to get parents out to see what was happening in schools like Parker and schools like Lafayette. We went door to door, man. Like we would hold superintendent parent meetings in every single district of Oakland. We would send out, mailers. We would try to get people. We would put out stuff on social media to try to get people to understand and see what was happening to these schools, because a lot of these schools are just losing enrollment, and it wasn't something that just popped up. It wasn't some part of some larger plan to disenfranchise Black and brown students in Black and brown schools. And so I'm torn by it because, one, I love the action and stick-to-itiveness that I'm seeing our community have. But two, and this is a lesson to just heed and take with you and to just think about, like, these things don't happen overnight. Like, we need you to be active throughout. We need you to know what's going on in those schools throughout. We need you to pay attention to the census. That's like how many students are in the school versus how many in the building holds. We need you to be on top of that stuff throughout. And I actually think that if we would have came together as a community earlier, Parker could have very easily not been one of the schools that closed. And that's just me from my perspective. I think there's going to be people that are always going to say that there's a conspiracy theory or all this stuff. I'm telling you, I worked in a district. And I'm going to just say this, and I say this as respectfully as possible. You give the district way too much credit. That district does not have the capacity to build a 20-year plan that is a covert plan from higher powers and with this nefarious idea that they're going to try to carry out. It's just not competent enough. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not. They're just, the entity just isn't competent enough, man. It was hard for us to stay on track on plans that were 3 months long, let alone 20 years. So that was a little bit of the reaction that I was having when I saw it, Omar. I'll let David, who also has just, his own experience with the district and just in Oakland education and activism, I'll let him kind of riff and go where he needs to go.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say on the specific Parker situation. I'm familiar with the school. You know, many of the students I worked with at my high school that I worked at came from Parker. But I also understand the larger issues within the school district. And unfortunately, you know, I've said it so many times and I'll continue to say it until something changes. The school district in Oakland has some significant structural issues. They're basically running way too many schools and they have children to fill. And I don't care if you're a governmental agency or a private corporation, you know, running an inefficient system is not beneficial to your business. And in this case, we're talking about the business of children. So, you know, and at the same time, obviously for any parent or student that might attend the school, it's tough, you know, because it's your school. I can imagine, you know, something happened to, you know, the school that my child attends. It's interesting. At a certain point in time, I actually pulled my child out of a charter school because of instability. And I'm like, I need to know what the most stable enrollment option is for my kid. I don't want to deal with no school closures. So, I mean, I think that's one thing. And then, you know, to see what's happening there now, we didn't talk about it a whole lot, but you know, like summer learning can also look like you know, the freedom schools that were born out of the movement from the Black Panthers, right? So, you know, summer school, you know, even that might happen in the
freedom schools was long before the Black Panthers, brother.
Yeah. So I mean that's
long before them. Yeah,
popularized. But I mean, like that's, you know, that's another form of summer learning. It's happening right now. You know, people have taken over this school building. I don't know how I feel about that from a liability perspective if a kid gets hurt. But you know, when community gathers together to provide support and resources for young people, I think it's a beautiful thing. Also, you know, it's also important that support is long-standing and not just you know, showing up kind of at the last minute when the time comes to have to make a hard decision to close the school. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I want to go in a bit of a different direction just to give our listeners just a quick thought on something. Again, going back to the agrarian calendar, and you're like, all right, like, 2.5 weeks or 2.5 months of summer. Like, what are we like out here planting Johnny Appleseed and stuff? Just one thing to bear in mind is that while the summer's wonderful, I've been very adamant personally about reshifting the calendar entirely. And we were like arguably one of the first in our area to do this. Although I give credit to Socorro Independent School District here in El Paso that's been doing year round for a while, but we've constructed this really killer calendar where kids come in August, which is early. And I was like, remember when we used to go to school in September? I was like, yeah, remember when you had 2.5 months of basically doing nothing and you were just out there planting seeds? Times have changed, ladies and gentlemen. So like,
you are
the
the enemy of fun.
I mean, we are literally we are the innovators here. And I was like, can we innovate this calendar? So we now have and I think a lot of people are doing this, which I like seeing across the country, is during the fall, we have 2 weeks off. So everyone has a week off, and then the kids and the teachers have 2 weeks off, and it's a 2-week fall break. Every single study has demonstrated that from August to October, in October, there's this ludicrous slump, a slump in attendance, a slump in productivity. Kids are depressed, teachers are depressed. And I'm like, cool, vacation. Because now you finished the first quarter, you got 2 weeks off, and that refresher comes back because October is this weird time where it's not close enough to the beginning of school. So the honeymoon period's over, but it's not, Thanksgiving's too far away. So you're just depressed. Boom, 2-week fall break. We have a week for Thanksgiving. We have 3 weeks for winter break. We come back, we do another quarter. We have 2 weeks off for spring break. Then you finish the quarter. Then we have the summer intensive. It is remarkable. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, what we're seeing is that the summer slump that everyone talks about, diminishing exponentially.
Yeah.
Our ability to raise kids several grade levels in a year increasing.
Yeah.
And then the summer is just enough time to do excellent summer learning, excellent summer programs without the ludicrous, guys, we're talking about, it used to be 10 weeks, all right? That is 70 days of just like fishing. And I don't know, like for a lot of kids, YouTubing it up, right?
Yeah, no, childhoods are made during the summer, man. What you mean? That's a. I get you. I hear you. I'm just. I could see a lot of pushback from my 9-year-old self. That is when we wake up and go outside and play all day.
But you know who's not pushing back? Your 9-year-old self's mom. That's like, what am I going to be doing with this kid for 70 days? And it's like, go outside and play with your bike and get kidnapped. Don't worry about it. We ain't in the 80s anymore.
We're 80s kids. Omar, we are 80s. We are 80s kids, 80s kids, 90s kids. I would say, you know, is it safe to say, David, you were a 70s kid?
Easy, buddy. Yeah.
That is the time when you were supposed to go out and scrape up your knee, man. And
I hear you. Yeah.
But Omar, and David can tell you more about this. I was a student at the time, but I went to Hawthorne. I went to it was a year round. We had a year round calendar, and it was basically there were different tracks, and it was 3 months on and a month off, 3 months on, a month off. So that was pretty interesting. I mean, and kids were on different tracks. It sucked if you were on a different track than your friends, but it's, you know, I don't know why Oakland stopped doing it. I think I asked David that before. Was it effective? Was it not effective? Why did they stop?
Why did who stop? I'm sorry.
Why did OUSD stop the so I went to Hawthorne. I was a year-round school. We had a year-round calendar.
Oh, year-round. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure were you teaching during that time when we had the year-round calendar come up, or what were you doing in Oakland at that time?
I was working in the charter school, so we had a traditional schedule. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. But I mean, I think times have definitely changed. We could do a whole 10 podcast series on my upbringing in the 70s and 80s and what I did over the summer. But reality is, like, you know, things are different now for young people. And so, you know, I think it's a different time. I think schools can play, you know, a much greater role in summer learning. I want to plug Omar's school and their kind of design work around, you know, which, I mean, none of this stuff was created by God. So we can like dismantle it and reconfigure it, you know, like gun laws, right? But the simple tweaks of doing a fall break, you know, and where we were at, we have a 3-week winter break and we have a 2-week summer break. And so our school year actually extends a little bit longer. And so our summer is shorter. And these are little things. However, the overall impact is tremendous, right? So summer is not this huge, long period of time where we have to like figure out what we're going to do. It's a lot. It's shorter. We're still in school for 2 more weeks here, you know, and we think about it and we're like, oh, it's because we had those other breaks, and those breaks help. They help, you know, children to decompress. They help us to decompress so we can connect as a family. And it's, you know, it's powerful. So I mean, I know that charter networks are doing it. Our district does it. You know, I think every school system should be looking at this and getting feedback from their own communities around what you know, what their communities desire. These things are not set in stone. So, you know, we can tinker with them, and we should. Yeah,
man. Well, I know we're at time. This was great, man. You know, we can roll into those final thoughts. Good show production, David, around this topic. You know, do you have any just final thoughts around this piece? We're gonna leave the last word for David, because I feel like the beard of knowledge or wisdom, I always get it mixed up, but I feel like he's gonna drop a hammer on it. So we're gonna save him for last. What's your thoughts?
It's hammer time. I mean, my first thought is talking all this Oakland stuff, and I see no Too Short in the background.
They didn't have his picture. I definitely would have got his picture. I absolutely would have got his
all
picture.
This talk about Oakland. All this talk about Oakland. I don't see Money B and Shock G back there. I don't see it. No, my final thoughts are: summer is a fun and interesting time, but ladies and gentlemen, to go both negative and positive, if you look at crime statistics, ladies and gentlemen, you will find that most crimes are committed during the school year between the hours of 3:30 and 5 p.m. by 13 to 17-year-olds. If you start looking up crime statistics in the summer, you will see that crime goes up exponentially for 13 to 17-year-olds. I loved the 80s and I loved the summer and I loved bike riding and I loved getting into like fun trouble. The problem is that when students who are exceptionally creative and intelligent and smart and thirsty for something, if left with a void, do you want that void to be filled by them? Or do you want to provide something meaningful, impactful, and powerful to elevate Black and brown children during the summer so that intelligence, that creativity, and that thoughtfulness and conscientiousness gets channeled into something that is going to empower and uplift our community to do exceptional things? I want our kids to be going to top colleges. I want our kids to get literacy levels that are at the college level, regardless if they go to college or not. I want our kids empowered with the skill set to not just lead, but make the world a better place tomorrow than it was yesterday. And for me, I think the summer becomes that impactful time to make that incredible change because we're so constrained during the school year. Let's design the creativity to give the kids the foresight and the ability to learn about the world, learn how to navigate the world, and know how to impress themselves on the world to make the world a better place during the summer.
And
That's
you know what?
That's my thought.
That was good. And you mentioned something about the summer. Here's something that I'll put into my final thought. I wrote this about, I think 2017. It's called The Killing Season, and it's about the summers. It's about the summer in Chicago. This is 2017 when over the 4th of July weekend, more than 100 people got shot during that time, and quoted 50 Cent in the hood. The summertime is the killing season. It's hot out this thing. That's a good enough reason. So you are definitely accurate in what you're saying around when things happen and when the heat comes. You know, I didn't know if you knew that I had ever written that, man. That's when I used to write for Huffington Post a long time ago back in the day. But I will drop that in a piece. I think this was a really good conversation. I think again, I kind of said my final thought in the midst of us talking, in the sense of parents. You got to own that thing, man. You got to own it. Our community, you got to own it. This is the time we got to make sure our kids are getting the things that they need to be successful. And if your kid is behind, you know, I want kids to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves. I want them to be able to have that leisure, and you should be able to build that in. But multiple things can happen at once. So that's my final thought: is you got to be the quarterback of your child's team, which is their education. You got to lead it down the field and across that pylon. So take us home, David.
Yeah, I'll keep this short and simple. We're up on time. I wanted to appreciate both you, Dr. Cole, and Omar for your thoughts and contributions. I felt like this, today's show was pretty organic, and we pulled from, we didn't pull from any external resources, or we didn't look at any data. We just pulled from our own personal and professional experiences around this particular topic, summer learning. So I really enjoyed hearing your stories and your reflections on the topic. So thank you for participating. I think for summer, if people are listening, they're planning their summer programs, or they got one starting Monday, focus on basics, focus on basic, academic support for children, targeting, younger children, given the fact that our kids have been out of school for, a number of years doing remote learning, and we're seeing some of the data around learning loss, and it's a very real thing. And so take advantage of summer learning. Also, as adults get tired, children get tired too. And so we shouldn't be doing the same thing, with children that we've been doing with them that may not be working. So it's also a time to, innovate and think about, different ways of teaching, different ways of learning modalities for young children, smaller groups, differentiated kind of settings for children, trying different things. And so this is an opportunity that we have in summer learning. It's also a time to invest in and provide students with, non-academic, but just as important extracurricular opportunities, arts, music, all these different areas that I think we just don't pay enough attention to. So making sure that young people are able to exercise different parts of their brains and their bodies over the summertime. And I think, the last thing I'll end with, and this is like a focus on, working with young people, mainly in urban areas, where I've spent a lot of my career, I know both of you have, is get children outside, let them breathe fresh air, get them out, take them to a national park, take them to a state park, take them to a local park, take them to see the beach, take them on a hike, take them on a bicycle ride, build that into your programs, right? And let your kids, many of whom may not have experienced these things before, to experience the great outdoors and outdoor learning. So these are all things that can happen within the parameters of summer learning. So that's just in addition to all the other things that we talked about, the upward bound programs, the college going programs. So yeah, that's what I got to offer.
Man, that's what's up, man. Well, for Omar and for David, I'm Charles, and you have been in another section, another the South Star Classroom. We will see you again, same bad time, same bad station next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and enjoy the weather. If it is nice where you are, it is 80 some odd degrees outside right now, and it's beautiful. But I'm about to go do work. So with that being said, y'all have a great one. We'll see you next time.
Bye.